The vast majority of golfers slice the golf ball, but the sad thing is they do not have good information and they do not understand what's causing the slice and more importantly how to fix it. And that's what we're going to dive in here today. We're doing a deep dive into actually what causes the slice versus a draw, okay, and more importantly, how you can fix it. So let's dive right into this. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because we love hearing from you. We're putting out great content each and every week. And you know what? Even some of you out there, you're teaching me some things as well. So be sure to leave some comments and some questions if you got them because I always go ahead and answer those. Now, let's talk about, first of all, what are the benefits of actually hitting a draw versus hitting a slice? All right, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of what are some of the causes and then some drills on how to fix it. And then at the end, we're going to talk specifically about the driver. So first of all, some of the benefits. Now, the most obvious benefit of hitting a draw versus a slice is the fact that the ball is going to travel a little bit further, right? Typically, if you hit a draw, especially off the tee ball, it's going to hit and it's going to release or roll out a little bit versus a slice. Slice is high, weak, and to the right, and it's just kind of an ugly shot. So one of the first benefits is it's going to actually give you more distance, and you'll be able to carry the ball further down the fairway, and of course it's going to help your golf game improve a little bit. The other things too is when you're drawing the ball, especially even like when you're hitting an iron shot, when you're drawing the ball, the contact is better. It's just a better looking golf shot. And I think in terms of actually hitting a draw, you need to do more things correct in the golf swing so you're working in a good direction in terms of improving. So those are just a couple of the little benefits that we have there. Now, when we start talking about what are some things that actually cause it, I also want to briefly talk about an overdraw, which is what we call like a pull hook. I'm not advocating that you hit a pull hook. A pull hook is a shot where you actually swing your arms and your club out and across your body. The club face is really closed and you pull the ball and you hook the ball. All right, that's different than hitting a nice high draw. A high draw is hit more from the inside. The ball starts a little to the right, goes up in the air, and draws back to the left if you're, of course, a right-handed golfer. The pull hook is the opposite. The pull hook is out across, the club face is closed, and the ball goes low and left. So that's one of the things we want to talk about. We're not advocating, what we're suggesting here is not to hit a pull hook, but it's to hit a nice high draw. So what are some things that we could do to help us hit that shot? So I'm going to talk about the setup, we're going to talk about the takeaway, then we're going to talk about the transition. Then we're going to get to that driver in just a second. So here are some things you can look for in the setup if you're hitting the slice. Number one is where in your setup is your pressure at on your feet. We talk about this a lot. So when you're set up, you should have a little bit more pressure or weight on your lead foot initially. Maybe 60% on your lead foot, 40% on your trail foot. If you're slicing the golf ball, you very well could be the opposite. You could be 60 on the trail foot, 40 on the front foot. This right away in the setup is going to cause you to start swinging out and across the golf ball and could cause you to slice. Another place to look in your setup, all right, that might be causing you to slice a golf ball, could be in the structure of your arms. So when we're set in here, all right, when I've set up, if I want to hit a draw, okay, my lead arm should be slightly higher than my trail arm. Okay, notice my lead arm slightly higher than my trail arm. If you're slicing it, you're probably just the opposite. All right, your trail arm, your right arm, if you're a right-handed golfer, could be higher than your lead arm, so you're set up more like this. Okay, now simple tip that you can do to help you with that is to take a club, I've got my 6-iron here, kind of put it down the middle of your body, a little bit of knee bend and forward bend to get in your setup, and then just tilt a little bit till the club hits you in the front leg. That's going to help you tilt your upper body a little bit away and also is going to help you get your arm structure in a good spot. So those are a couple things in the setup. Be aware of where your weight's at on your feet. You want it a little bit forward and understand that your lead arm should be a little bit higher. Those are a couple things that could help you there. Now, how about the takeaway? If you're slicing the golf ball on the takeaway, well, typically I see two things that happen if you're slicing it. Number one is we get disconnected early, meaning the arms disconnect from the body. So it looks something like this. When you're set up, okay, the arms get out and they disconnect away from the body. Notice how they're separated here, all right? So that can cause you to slice a golf ball for a couple different reasons. One of them I'm going to talk about here in a second, but this disconnection gets your arms separated from your body. It's not a good position to be in if you want to hit the draw. So what should it look like and how can you check it? Well, here's a simple drill. Take your club, go ahead and grip it, take your lead arm and put it up and on top of your chest. So notice as I do this, I'm taking my lead arm, putting it up and across on top of my chest like that. and I have a nice connection point. Now when I move the club away from the ball, I want to maintain that connection point. Okay, that will help me keep my arms, my body working together, and can certainly help your takeaway, help you hit that nice high draw. The second thing that I see in the takeaway for most amateur golfers that cause them to slice it is they rotate the club face too open. So what I mean by that is when they take the club away, the face rotates open, and that puts them in a position where they're very prone to actually slicing the golf ball. All right, so what you want to feel is you want to feel the club face more square. So this would be square. You can see there, this would be open. So what's your checkpoint? Well, your checkpoint is the logo on your glove. So when you're set in here, if the logo on your glove rotates towards the sky, your club face is probably open. If the logo stays looking down, kind of, let me get set up here, I got a ball. If my logo at this point is looking more down at the ball right here, okay, then I know that my club face is probably pretty square, all right? So those are a couple things in terms of the takeaway. Now, if you got some questions, be sure to fire those in the comments, or maybe you agree or disagree, that's okay, all right? Or maybe you've got a tip that's helped you eliminate the slice, be sure to leave that in there as well, because that can help out our fellow golfers. So we've talked a little bit about the setup, talked a little bit about the takeaway. I want to talk about the transition, because this is where a lot of the breakdown happens, all right, in terms of hitting a nice high draw versus the slice. Then we're going to talk about the driver. So in the transition, when we say transition, we're talking about when the club moves from backswing to forward swing or downswing, however you want to talk it. Backswing to forward swing or downswing. That's where a lot of it happens, all right? The first thing I would say is that make sure that your arms and your hands are relaxed. If they're super tight and tense, they're going to want to work out and across, and you're going to probably start slicing the golf ball. They should be soft and relaxed, and they should be working as, I would say, almost like as an end result or a byproduct of your pivot. So notice when I take it here to the top, if I manually try to do something with my arms, okay, the club's going to go out. But if I keep my arms soft and relaxed, and I just start to rotate, the club will drop more from the inside. So that'd be the first thing, is be aware of the tension. Now, what's a good drill we could do for that? Well, a good drill we could do is just we call it like a separation drill, where basically what we do is you put your feet together, put the club in front, okay? Now, as you swing the club and your arms back away from the target, you go ahead and you step forward. So in slow motion, it looks like this. Arms swing back, foot goes forward. Okay? Now you can actually hit a ball. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that once. Typically I would do this drill first of all with like an iron. All right, so my feet are together. Notice my feet are a little bit back and behind the ball. So I've taken my regular setup. I've brought my lead foot back to my trail foot. Club in front. I'm going to swing back. Go ahead and step forward. And that little transition there from back to front will help you smooth that out a little bit. So that, if you're struggling in your transition, that would be a good, simple way and something that you could do. Now, let's talk about the driver, okay? Because this is typically where most people end up slicing the most. Now, a big part of that really can be because of the tension. Because when you start trying to add speed and swing hard, that creates tension. The club actually slows down. So that could be one reason. So that's something you want to be aware of. But I want to give you two things in your setup that you can do. All right, and then I want to give you one drill. So in your setup with your driver, you already know that you should have a little bit more weight on your lead foot. We already talked about that, right? We've also talked about the lead arm a little bit higher. But with your driver specifically, I also want you to take your lead hip, for me that's my left hip, and bump it more over your lead foot. Okay, so here I am normal, driver, I'm bumping it just a little bit. That will actually help you swing a little bit more from the inside, also help you swing up on the golf ball. So that'd be the first tip in terms of your setup. The second one in terms of your setup is I want you to feel like the handle is just a little bit higher. Okay, so here'd be my normal irons. With my driver, I'm going to raise the handle just a little bit. I'm going to bump the hip just a little bit. And those couple things in my setup can drastically help me start swinging more from the inside and also help you start swinging up. So let's talk about a drill that we can do with the driver to help us start hitting that nice high draw. So I like to call this a TV drill. We've used one before. It is fantastic. I'm telling you, it really works wonders. So here's how it works. You're going to take your regular setup. The beauty of this is you get to hit a golf ball. So a couple key points here. One is, this is what we call the butt end of the club. That's going to be a checkpoint for us. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and hit a shot, and when you finish the swing, the butt end of the club is going to be high, okay, versus low, number one, high. It's also going to be rotated and pointing somewhere kind of outside where the ball was or outside the target line. So if you're slicing, you're probably finishing low and left. And notice where the butt end of the club is pointed. It's pointed back and behind me. But if you want to hit a nice high draw, you're going to finish high and rotated. So you just take your setup. I like to make a few practice swings. Handles high, clubs rotated, pointing out here kind of by that flag. All right, that flag is outside my target line. Okay, and if I do that by hitting a golf ball, then I go ahead and hit a shot, you're going to see the ball start to the right and hit a nice high draw. So there's a lot of differences between a slice and a draw. Next time you head to the golf course, you're going to have some information. Check your setup, all right? Check your takeaway. We've got some drills we've given you, and if you do those types of things once and for all, you hopefully will eliminate that slice and you'll start hitting a nice high draw.